Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're going to be titans battling each other out trying to capture creatures. And it's going to be raining dice, but not those boring white D6s. Today we're talking about Titan Dice. This is a dice rolling game with a little bit of pressure luck element for 1 to 4 players, ages 8 and up. This is on Kickstarter right now, so we're going to be doing a preview of this game, and I'll see you on the other side. Now this is a Kickstarter preview, so all the components and art I show you are subject to change. You'll want to check the Kickstarter page out for the final art and the final components. Everyone starts with a player board, which on the back side has a nice piece of art there. And on the other side of that is your main player board. Each player will get one of these, and they'll all get one creature to start with. There's 5 different types of creatures, and over the course of the game, you're going to be trying to capture these and cage them, because each one of these you capture are a point. And over the course of the game, you'll be purchasing different creature cards. And over the course of the game, they're going to give you points and special abilities. And as you go through them, they'll become harder to purchase, but they'll be worth more points. Now you'll notice these tokens have a thematic picture on them. I'm going to flip them over to the other side so it matches the other icons on the board, just so it'll be easier for you to learn the game. And again, you're trying to get points by capturing creatures and then finally caging them. Now I'm the first player here, and each player is going to roll the dice, take some actions, and then it will go to the next player. So I'm going to roll my dice, and on your first roll of the round, if you've rolled any wounds, you can re-roll any of those dice. So let's say I re-rolled it and I got this. So now I can do one of 3 things. I can purchase a creature card, exchange one, or activate a creature card's ability. Now since this is the first turn of the game, my only real good option here is to purchase a creature card, but you can always pass. Now let's say I had one of my active dice, I would spend 1 for each of the icons that are here. Everyone starts with 1 here, so I could purchase this. This would go in my spent dice area, and I would be able to put this card in front of me. So here's how my board would look. I'd have my card, and I'd have my spent dice over here. And at any time during my turn, I can capture creatures. To do that, you could spend dice, and you would move the creatures over 1 for each one you captured. So I could spend these 2, and I could capture 2 of the griffins like that. But in this case, I'm going to keep these here and try to get a 3rd one next round and re-roll some dice. So at this point, I'm going to be done, and it's going to go to the next player. They will continue doing what I just did. Now, after your first turn, once it comes around to you again, you have 3 choices. You can either roll all your spent dice, roll all your active dice, or roll all active and all spent dice. In this case, I'm going to re-roll my spent dice, hoping to get another griffin. Unfortunately, I didn't. I got this. But if you remember, you can purchase, activate, or exchange a card. Let's look at activating. I have 1 die here. There's only 1 symbol here, so I can activate that by spending this, and now I get this, which says re-roll up to 2 of your active dice. So let's re-roll those. And after I re-rolled these 2, I got a 3rd griffin and a minotaur. So I will take these 3, I will spend them because I am going to capture a creature. I'm going to spend 3 of these, 1 of each, to capture this. Now this creature is now caged. Doesn't mean you can't use them later. I'm going to show you that in just a moment. But this one is caged. Essentially, it's just gotten me a few points there. Now, at the end of your turn will end out of this round and go into a different phase, and one of 2 things happens. Either you capture at least 1 creature, or if you get 3 wounds, because as you're rolling dice, if you roll the wound, you will take one of these. And anytime you get 3 of those, well, then your turn's up, and you are basically out of this round. Now this is an interesting part of the game, because you're going to go out of the round if you, again, either capture 1 creature, and you can only capture 1 type of creature at a time on a turn, or if you get the 3 wounds. When that happens, you'll flip your player aid over, and you're going to be in the attack phase. So now, when it comes back around to you and it's your turn, you're not just out of the round. Sure, you're out of the normal phases, but you go into the attack round. So what happens is you'll be rolling your 5 regular dice. So now when it comes back to you, when you roll these dice, you can re-roll 1. So let's say I rolled this, and I wanted to keep those 2, and I wanted to re-roll those again. Well, let's say I got 3 of these on the Hydra. Then all opponents that are still in the round would flip one of their creature cards face down for the round, because if you remember, the creature cards here, you're activating with dice and using special things, but this would make everybody who's still in flip one of them face down so they can't use them. Now the people out would continue doing that attack phase until there's nobody left, meaning everyone has either got 3 wounds or have captured creatures. Then you'd pass the first player marker to the next player and you'd start a new round. Now let's say it came back to my turn this next round and I really wanted to re-roll, but I did not have any of these symbols here. Well, anytime you're purchasing or activating a card or exchanging a card, you don't just have to use dice. You can use dice, you can use creatures, or you can use a combination. So I don't have any of these dice here, but I could move this back 1 like that because that's as low as it can go. And now I could activate this, which would be re-rolling up to 2 of these dice. Let's say I re-rolled them and now I want to use these to capture creatures. I'd put these here. I can move this up 3 and I now have a Kraken also with the Griffin caged up. And then it would be the next player's turn. I'd be out for the round going to the attack phase. Now on a future round, one of the things you can do after you've rolled your dice is, we talked about purchasing a card and activating a card. Let's talk about exchanging a card. You can never have 2 of the exact same cards of the same type, but you can get a different card from the same type by exchanging. So let's say I have the 1 value of this here. Let's say I wanted to get the 2 value. I would need to spend this amount. Again, that could either be by 2 dice or a die and putting down a creature 1 or putting down 2 creatures 1, any combination of dice and putting down creatures 1 level to be able to get this, and I would exchange it. I essentially would take this and exchange it back with the one I had. And so now I have convert, which was 2 of this. We could flip up 3 of my active dice to their opposite sides now. Now let's say this wasn't in the pile, but this was in front of somebody else. You can exchange with somebody else. They cannot say no. You essentially just have to spend what you're exchanging for and give them the card that you're exchanging out. Now these phases and rounds will continue until any one player has 3 caged creatures. At the end of that round, you'll end up scoring, and you're going to get 1 point for every animal that is here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. This would be 0. This would be 1. So then we got 4 times 3, which is 12, 13, 14, 15, because you get 1 point for each of the icons on all the cards that you have, and whoever has the most is the winner. And if it's tied, whoever was later in turn order would win. Now let's just show you a little bit more about some of these cards. As we showed you the level 1 before, the level 2 is a little bit better, but look at the level 3. Change up to 4 of your active dice to any side. It costs a lot, and it costs a lot to activate it, but it is very powerful and does give you this many points at the end of the game. But you look at some of the other ones in like Hydra, you'd lose 1 creature to collect a different creature, so go down on 1 to go up in another. Lose 1 creature, collect up to 2 other creatures. Collected creatures may be the same type. And we have exchange. Lose 1 creature, collect up to 3 of other creatures. So they all sort of have like a similar thing that they do, but they're all different from each other. And also note, in a game with 3 or more players, there'll actually be 2 level 2 cards in each pile. So we'll go level 1, 2 level 2s, and a level 3 with 3 or more players. And you may have been wondering what this die was doing the whole time. This is the bonus die, and different cards will bring out different abilities from that die. There is a solo version of the game. It plays a little bit differently. You start the same, but there's another board that comes out called the Exodus board. This is a non-playing character, and all their creatures start in the cage. On your turn, you'll take your turns like normal, but you're trying to get all of your creatures into the cage instead of just 3 of them that would end the game. In a normal game, you're trying to get all of them there. Also, there's only 2 cards of each type, but you get to pick which ones they are. Then they go in order. So 2, 3, I might do 1, 2, I might do 2, 3. So you get to decide which order. But the Kraken has very specific solo game cards that you'll replace the normal cards with, which allow you to basically fight against what the Exodus player is doing. So once the Exodus player, they're going to roll a die. They will move that creature 1 as long as it's not already lost. However, every time it comes back around to them, they're going to roll 1 more die. So on the second turn, they're going to roll 2 die. On the third turn, they're going to roll 3 die, and so on and so forth, as long as they're there. If your creature's lost and they roll that, well, then nothing happens there. But if they roll a wound, then you have to move 1 of the creatures that's not yet lost. So this is sort of a rush to try to get all of your creatures caged before all of the creatures are lost on the Exodus board. Well, there you have Titan Dice, and as you can tell, it's a lighter family-style game, plays in about 30 to 45 minutes. What the game has going for it is it's ages 8 and up, so you can play it with the kids and have just as much fun with the adults. Also, when you're rolling your dice, in many dice rolling games, sometimes there's not a whole lot to do on your turn, or after you're done or out of a round, you're sitting around waiting, but not in this game because it gives you that additional phase called the attack phase, where you're able to roll the dice and hinder other people, which tends to speed that round up, because there's they're trying to get things done and they want to be able to capture some creatures before you end up doing them in. So I like that aspect of having a different phase once you go out, and it sort of puts pressure on everybody else to get out as well. If you're interested in this, Eagle Gryphon has a Kickstarter going on live right now. Below me in the description of this video is going to be a link. You can click that link and see the project live right now. I'm sure the people at Eagle Gryphon Games would love your support.